I stepped out of the cab onto my own street, and for a second, it didn't feel like mine anymore. 14 months. That's how long I'd been gone. Classified work, embedded with a task force nobody talked about. The kind of gig that leaves no paper trail and plenty of ghosts. I was tired. My bones ached. My only thought walking up to that house was hugging my daughter, Maddie, and kissing Sophie. My wife. Funny, isn't it? What you expect and what you get. The first thing that hit me, no welcome sign. No balloons, no ribbons. No little chalk message on the sidewalk. Maddie used to draw them every time I came back from field work. Second thing, new curtains in the window. Bright red. Sophie hated red. Then I saw it. A black BMW in the driveway. One of those polished types that looked like it belonged in a stock photo for divorce attorney near you. I rolled my suitcase up the walkway, still hoping maybe it was just a guest. Maybe her brother. A friend. Anything. I took out my keys. Click. Nothing. I tried again. Still nothing. She'd changed the locks. I stood there, like an idiot, holding a bag of stuffed animals and a bottle of wine I picked up at the airport. Then the door opened. There she was. Sophie. Not in shock. Not even surprised. Just cold. Behind her, standing in my living room, like he owned the damn place, was a man I'd never seen before. Tall. Fit. Designer shirt open just enough to show off a perfect tan. Maddie peeked out from behind him. "Daddy?" she said quietly. And that was it. My world tipped sideways. The guy put his hand on her shoulder like it belonged there. "Go to your room, sweetie," he said. She obeyed. Just like that. Sophie didn't flinch. Didn't apologize. Didn't cry. She just looked me dead in the eye and said, "You shouldn't have come back without calling." I didn't even have time to speak before she shoved a garbage bag into my chest. Inside, my uniform. My ribbons. A broken picture frame. "We moved on, Ryan," she said. "You were gone. And he's been here. For us." I looked at the guy. He smirked. This wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. And standing there, on the front step of the house I used to call home, I knew one thing for certain. They had no idea who they were dealing with. She didn't even blink. No apology. No. "Sorry, I should have told you." Just that dead stare. Like I was the one crashing a party I wasn't invited to. Behind her, the guy lounged against the doorframe, holding one of Maddie's toys. A little stuffed bear I bought her on her 5th birthday. He squeezed it like it was his. Maddie peeked around his legs again. "Papa," she said to him. That's when the floor dropped out from under me. I didn't even feel the box until she shoved it into my arms. One of those plain cardboard moving boxes with black marker on the side. "Ryan," it read. Inside, my old hoodie. My watch. A framed photo of the three of us. Glass cracked. Probably tossed in without a second thought. "You didn't tell me," I finally managed to say. Sophie crossed her arms. "You were gone, Ryan. You stopped calling. We stopped waiting. 15 months, I said. "That's how long I was away. Serving. You knew that. You knew it would be classified." She gave a half shrug. "It stopped feeling like a marriage. He was here. You weren't." The guy didn't say a word. Just watched me with that calm, condescending smirk people wear when they think they've won something. "We're different now," she added. "You wouldn't fit into this life anymore. You replaced me. You left." I wanted to yell. To scream. But my voice just sat frozen in my throat. Everything felt slow. Like the air had thickened. Maddie had disappeared upstairs. My daughter. My own flesh and blood, calling some random man, "Papa." And Sophie just stood there, handing me a box like I was an Amazon return. I didn't say another word. I turned around, carrying the pieces of a life I no longer had. But inside, something started ticking. Not rage. Not revenge. Precision. They made a move. Now it was my turn. I didn't slam the door. Didn't shout. Didn't throw the box on the ground. Didn't ask who he was or how long it had been going on. I just walked away. Because explosions are for people with no plan. And I had one forming already. I sat in my car for a while. Not driving. Just staring ahead. Her house, no, their house now, still in the mirror. The bear still in that guy's hand. Maddie's voice still echoing in my ears. Papa! I pressed my hand against the steering wheel. Then I pulled out my phone. The number I dialed hadn't been in use for over a year. We used it only when everything else had failed. A failsafe line, buried under layers of encryption and dead proxies. It rang once. Twice. Then a low voice answered. Who the hell is calling on this line? It's me, I said. Activate Protocol Raven. A pause. Then, Ryan? You serious? Do I sound like I'm playing? The voice on the other end was Mason, former field operative, current ghost. He was the kind of guy who'd left fingerprints in places nobody should have ever been. My ex-partner from back when the Bureau sent us places we never told anyone about. I heard keys clacking. Jesus. All right. Give me a second. Damn. Okay. Raven's live. You want assets, trace logs, full surveillance? What are we talking? Full spectrum, I said. Digital trace, physical tail, background scrub on subject A and B. I want everything. Him, her, any off-books property transfers, communications, financials. And get Anna on this too. She's better with social pulls. You got it, Mason said. What's the clock? 72 hours. I want a full picture. No gaps. Another pause. You're not coming in loud, are you? I exhaled slowly. No. This is surgical. No mess. Just answers. All right. I'll loop you in when we get first pings. I hung up. People think working in intelligence is all car chases and secret gadgets. It's not. It's patience. It's knowing where to watch and how to wait. The Bureau taught me that. But the network, the one behind the Bureau, the unofficial web of favors and ghosts and debts owed in dark corners of the world, that's where real information lives. And I had keys most people didn't even know existed. By the time I got back to my temporary apartment, Mason had already sent a link to a secure sandbox server. In it, a new case file. 2 primary targets. Subject A, Sophie Harland. Date of birth, redacted. Employer, Midtown Legal Group. Activity, frequent encrypted chats via Signal. 1 recently wiped burner. Schedule anomalies match Subject B's. Location sharing disabled 3 weeks ago. Subject B, Tyler McCain. DOB, redacted. Occupation, fitness consultant / lifestyle influencer / real estate dabbler. Affiliations, Pierce Development Group, flagged in 2 SEC inquiries. Close ties to Judge Randall McCain, uncle. Photos. Videos. GPS overlays. They weren't hiding. They were just counting on me not looking. Bad assumption. At 2 a.m., I got a ping. Audio file uploaded. Short clip. Mason's voice whispered through static. Pull this off her work landline. Auto-forwarded to her cell. Then came her voice. Sophie. He's back. I didn't expect it so soon. No, he didn't do anything. Just left. Yeah. Like, nothing. It's creepy, actually. Like he's planning something. You're damn right I am, I thought. Not for revenge. For correction. The man holding Maddie's bear had a name. Jeff McLean. I ran it through the network's passive databases first. Nothing major, just the usual LinkedIn sheen. Independent financial consultant. Real estate investor. Family man. Likes skiing, bourbon, and long hikes with meaningful conversation. Yeah, sure. But if there's one thing the Bureau teaches you, it's this. People always sanitize the front porch. The dirt's out back. So I went digging. First, property records. Jeff owned 3 condos under his name, but 5 more under a shell company that led back to a holding firm in Delaware. That alone wasn't suspicious. unless you'd worked white-collar crime like I had. Then it screamed, "Hide the money." Second, phone metadata. Mason pulled cell tower logs. Jeff and Sophie had been exchanging regular late-night calls for 3 months. Most lasted under 5 minutes. Probably check-ins. But one, dated the night before I came home, lasted 47 minutes. We traced the number to a second, unregistered phone in Sophie's name. Classic burner. And the best part? The phone was paid for using a prepaid Visa card, charged from my old joint account. She'd used my own damn savings to cover her tracks. That got personal. I didn't react. Not outwardly. I just went quiet and deeper. We installed a passive tap on Jeff's phone. Not wiretapping. Just metadata capture. From there, I mapped out his daily route. 6:20 a.m. gym, 8:10 coffee stop, 8:45 office, 12:30 break at some salad bar, then home by 6, unless he was working late, which apparently meant Sophie's house. He wasn't just dating my wife. He was playing dad to my daughter, picking her up from school, buying her toys, using my grill. I saw a photo of that, by the way. Neighbors post everything these days. I'm not sure what stung more, Sophie's betrayal, or the sight of this knockoff Ken doll flipping burgers where I used to stand. So I went further. We set up a drone sweep from the edge of the neighborhood. Nothing fancy, just commercial grade with a silent gimbal. Got a solid 4K feed of the house. One night, I watched them all through the front window, eating spaghetti, laughing. He poured wine for her like he'd been doing it for years. Maddie sat at the table between them. She passed him the Parmesan. I felt my hand clench. Next move, Sophie's laptop. She'd always been careful, but not careful enough. Mason had worked cybersec for NATO, and Anna had once broken into an Estonian diplomat's private drive using only a corrupted GIF file. Sophie didn't stand a chance. The laptop connected to her home Wi-Fi on Wednesdays, when she worked remotely. So we piggybacked into the system through the smart thermostat, thank you, Internet of Things, and cracked her machine overnight. Emails. Calendars. A shared document titled, Florida Plan. That was interesting. Inside, vacation plans with Jeff. 3 weeks in Key West, marked, after custody ruling. Apparently, they didn't just replace me. They were planning to erase me. There were messages, too. Dozens. Between Sophie and Jeff. He's a good man, but I'm done pretending I want that kind of life. Ryan's always been about duty. Jeff, you're about passion. Maddie deserves a father who's here. Every sentence was a punch. But I read them all. Twice. I wasn't looking for pain. I was looking for leverage. I forwarded key messages to a secure server and encrypted them with a signature only I could unlock. Then came the gold. An email exchange between Jeff and a real estate developer named Callahan, one already under quiet federal scrutiny for laundering cash through shell properties. They discussed a percentage bump if certain city zoning changes went through. Sophie was CC'd on one of them. She worked in legal. She knew the risks. Now it wasn't just adultery. It was conspiracy. I didn't need revenge. I needed a record. Dates, times, documents. Everything admissible. Because this wasn't about making them suffer. It was about ensuring they'd never touch my daughter again. You know, there's a difference between betrayal and premeditated erasure. Reading those emails between Sophie and Jeff, I stopped feeling hurt. I started feeling cold. Focused. They weren't just in love. They were engineering my disappearance. One folder buried inside Sophie's email archive had been labeled innocently school paperwork. But the files inside? Drafts of legal memos, contact sheets for custody attorneys, and a running list titled, Grounds to Establish Ryan's Instability. I stared at it for a while. Took a sip of black coffee. Then opened it. Bullet points. Clean, methodical, almost surgical. Ryan's emotional distance, noted by friends. Unresolved PTSD from his federal work, no formal diagnosis, but we imply. Evidence of secretive behavior. Possibly paranoia. He traveled often, Create the narrative that Maddie never bonded closely. Then there was this line. If we push the narrative that he's unwell, we can request full custody. Jeff can adopt eventually. My vision went narrow. That kind of focus you only get when the adrenaline freezes instead of floods. I didn't blink. Didn't move. I just copied every file timestamped, hashed the metadata, and dropped it into the external chain. Sophie had also drafted an email to a therapist she'd never sent. It read like a script. My husband is showing signs of instability. He's always quiet, but lately it's different. I'm worried for myself and our daughter. If something happens, I want a record. There it was. The insurance policy. She hadn't sent it yet, but she would. And Jeff? He'd been busy too. Messages between him and someone named Gentry Morris showed they'd been in talks to bring me up on a company ethics board violation. My old firm had a policy about outside data consulting. They wanted to paint it like I'd broken clearance. Technically, I hadn't. But smear first, check later. That's how reputations die. What really got me, though, was the smug tone. He's smart, but not political. Doesn't know how this world works. Once he's out of the picture, we do Key West. You and Maddie, finally a real family. They underestimated me. Thought I was some quiet code monkey who did crossword puzzles and forgot birthdays. They didn't know about the Blackfield contract. They didn't know about the 4 times I'd been flown into countries I wasn't supposed to be in, with a passport I didn't own. They didn't know that while Sophie was playing spa weekends with Jeff, I was helping intercept rogue networks trafficking people across state lines. They were planning strategy. I was trained for it. So I stopped thinking like a husband. And I started thinking like an operator again. First, I sent 3 anonymous packages, 1 to my attorney, 1 to a federal contact I trusted, and 1 to the oversight committee tied to Jeff's zoning partners. No accusations, just documents, timestamps, and questions. Second, I called Ava. Ava worked in psychological ops for 12 years. Now she did private recon work and consulting. She owed me a favor. I told her everything. She didn't flinch. Want me to flip them on themselves? She asked. No, I said. I want to be 10 moves ahead before they think I've stood up. And I was. Every chat, every laugh, every lie, they all thought they were acting in secret. But when you live in shadows long enough, people leave trails. You just have to know what light to use. Jeff once said in a message. Let's be careful. Ryan's smart, but harmless. Right. Harmless, like a silence trigger. And this? This wasn't just a betrayal. This was war. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was restless, because I was focused. There's a rhythm to these things. First you observe. Then you collect. Then you act. By morning, I had a plan that would hit harder than any confrontation ever could. First call, Major Elena Park. We served together back in Kabul. Now she was a JAG officer, working federal cases that danced on the edge of classified. She owed me a favor, too. One of those you don't forget. Elena, I said, I need a custody motion drafted. Fast. Full custody. Emergency status. She didn't ask why. She just asked where to send it. Second move. I packaged everything I had into a digital file. The folder name was simple. McLean, Pattern of Fraud. Inside, screenshots, financial records, chat logs, even voice memos from Sophie where she casually mentioned Jeff's shady backdoor clients. I sent that folder 3 places, anonymously. IRS, whistleblower channel. SEC, corporate fraud tip line. And Jeff's company's HR department, internal compliance division. I knew exactly how corporate sharks react. Not morally, tactically. They don't ask, is this true? They ask, will this blow up in our faces if we ignore it? By 10 a.m., the compliance team had flagged it for internal review. By noon, Jeff's company had launched a quiet internal investigation. I knew because Ava was still watching. She'd already spoofed one of their internal Slack bots to mirror activity. He had no idea the walls were moving. At the same time, Elena sent over the first draft of the custody petition. It was strong, too strong for family court to ignore. It stated that while I'd been working in critical federal infrastructure, my wife had alienated me from our daughter, established a residence with another man, and was now participating in a coordinated smear campaign against me, all while exposing my child to a potentially unstable environment. The best part? None of it was exaggerated. I printed the papers. Signed. Scanned. Filed. Now the timer had started. What people like Sophie and Jeff never understand is that silence doesn't mean surrender. It means calculation. By that afternoon, I saw a ping in the monitoring channel Ava had set up. Jeff just got pulled into a quick meeting with HR. 2 hours later, another ping. His keycard access was suspended temporarily. They're doing a systems audit. I'll be honest, that one made me laugh out loud. That evening, I made dinner like nothing happened. Stir-fry, jasmine rice. I packed Maddie's favorite snack in her school bag, the ones with the tiny marshmallows. Even added a post-it that said, "You got this." Sophie messaged me that night. "Hey, I was thinking, can we talk tomorrow?" I didn't reply, because tomorrow, she'd be getting served. It was weird how calm I felt. Like a chess player who knows the mate is inevitable. I'd spent so long doubting myself, wondering what I did wrong, if I wasn't good enough, attentive enough, man enough. Now I realized, the mistake wasn't mine. It was trusting someone who saw loyalty as leverage. She thought she was moving on. But what she didn't see was that I had already left that house the moment she handed me a box of my own clothes and told me I didn't fit. I didn't fit? Good. Because I wasn't made for the story they were writing. I was building my own. And it was almost time to flip the page. They walked into the courthouse, like they were strolling into a brunch spot. Jeff in his navy suit, that smug Wall Street smirk barely holding, and Sophie in a sleek beige dress, understated, but strategic. Like she was playing the role of the concerned mother in a TV legal drama. Me? I was already seated. Calm. Buttoned up. No theatrics. Just facts. The room wasn't full. Just us, a couple of attorneys, and the judge. And not just any judge. Judge Caroline Mercer. To them, just another name on the docket. To me, she was once a witness under federal protection. A long time ago, I ran an op that pulled her out of a cartel-financed corruption scandal. She testified because of the trust we built. And now? Now she wore the robe. I didn't expect a free ride. But I knew one thing. This woman didn't tolerate liars. Or cowards. The hearing began. Sophie's lawyer tried to paint a soft picture. Brian's too busy. His work always took priority. Sophie provided stability while he was gone. Blah blah. Then Jeff's attorney chimed in. I almost admired his confidence. He tried to suggest that I was emotionally distant, possibly dealing with unresolved trauma from my years in federal service. Classic playbook stuff. Unprovable yet sticky. He even floated that maybe Sophie was acting in the child's best interest by creating a supportive environment. I watched Judge Mercer's face. Blank. But I caught the twitch in her jaw. Then it was our turn. My attorney, Elena, didn't raise her voice once. She laid it out like a closing argument in a military tribunal. First, the communication logs. Months of text messages where Sophie told me to stop calling during my deployment, told Maddie I was busy being a ghost again. Then, the recordings, Sophie and Jeff plotting, laughing, casually discussing how to get me out of Maddie's life, gently, and if that didn't work, to burn the bridge. Then came the financials. Wire transfers. Shell accounts. Jeff's little side projects, which, conveniently, were under active IRS review as of 2 days ago. By the time Elena was done, the entire courtroom felt like it had lost oxygen. Sophie shifted in her seat. Her face pale. Hands clenched. Jeff leaned forward, trying to signal calm, like he still had some card to play. Judge Mercer finally spoke. Her voice was even, low, and sharp. Mrs. Fletcher. She still used Sophie's married name, probably on purpose. You have knowingly obstructed the relationship between your daughter and her father during a period when he was serving this country. Sophie tried to respond. I don't. The judge cut her off. I'm not done. Then she turned to Jeff. And Mr. McLean, your presence here as a non-relative, non-guardian, cohabitating with a minor while simultaneously being under corporate investigation? That alone is grounds for concern. Add in the recorded conversations, and I have serious doubts about your judgment and your intentions. He opened his mouth, but thought better of it. Judge Mercer straightened the papers in front of her. I am granting temporary sole custody to Mr. Ryan Fletcher. Effective immediately. Mrs. Fletcher will have supervised visitation rights pending psychological evaluation and a full review. Sophie gasped like someone had slapped her. The gavel came down like a thunderclap. Case adjourned. Jeff stood there frozen. Sophie turned toward me, her lips trembling. You did this? I stood up slowly. Buttoned my jacket. No, Sophie, I said. You did this. I just made sure the truth had a microphone. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I wasn't serving revenge. I was serving consequences. And they were ice cold. 2 days after the custody hearing, news hit Jeff like a brick to the teeth. Pierce and Whitman, the financial firm he bragged about like it was a birthright, suspended him. Pending internal review, their email said. Translation? They saw the smoke and knew the fire was coming. By Friday, his company profile vanished from their website. The partners weren't answering his calls. And HR? They froze his accounts faster than a bad Netflix show gets canceled. The audit I triggered? It stuck. The SEC was on it now. So were 2 investigative journalists. Jeff's shell games weren't clever. Just sloppy. Hidden behind arrogance and a few LLCs in Delaware. That kind of trail doesn't disappear. Not when someone like me is following it. He tried to fight it. Of course he did. Tried calling favors, leaning on his father's college buddies, probably even whispering threats into phone calls. Didn't help. His bank froze 2 credit lines. One of the developers he partnered with filed a lawsuit. Internal emails leaked. And every power lunch invitation he once bragged about. Gone. Sophie fared no better. After the hearing, a court-ordered therapist evaluation was scheduled for her. Apparently, her version of reality didn't align with Maddie's testimony. The therapist noted signs of manipulation, emotional pressure, and concerning shifts in parental framing. Supervised visits were assigned. 2 hours a week. In a room with glass walls. Maddie didn't cry. She just didn't say much. It was quiet. Heavy. And Sophie? She wasn't the woman I used to know. The confidence, the spark, all that performance? Gone. She looked tired. Fragile in a way I never thought I'd see. One afternoon, she waited for me in the parking lot after I picked up Maddie. Her voice shook. Ryan, this isn't fair. I stared at her for a moment. No, I said. It's not. But it's accurate. You could have ruined me, she whispered. I shrugged. I didn't have to. She blinked. What does that mean? It means I didn't leak your emails. Or those messages between you and Jeff about faking abuse claims. I didn't tell your board at the hospital about the times you took prescription pads home. I could have. But I didn't. Her face drained of color. You're threatening me? No, I said calmly. I'm reminding you. I'm not a destroyer, Sophie. But I am thorough. And I protect what matters. Then I walked away. I wasn't angry anymore. That part had burned out. But the silence that came after? It was heavier than rage. She came by the house a week later. Didn't call. Didn't text. Just showed up. Hair unkempt, eyes swollen, sleeves of her once perfect blazer wrinkled like she'd been sleeping in it. There was no fire left, only smoke and ash. I opened the door halfway. She didn't ask to come in. Just stood there on the porch, hugging her arms like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. Ryan, she began, voice cracking. Please, can we talk? I didn't answer. Just stared. I made a mistake, she said, her breath hitching. I got caught up in something. I thought it would mean more. I thought Jeff, would be. She didn't finish. Her voice collapsed under the weight of her own words. I lost everything, she whispered. My job's gone. The hospital's launching an ethics review. I'm suspended indefinitely. I nodded slowly. I know. My accounts are frozen. I have no access to anything. HR flagged irregularities. Someone leaked emails. Ryan, I can't even pay rent. She looked at me like I was supposed to fix it. But I wasn't her savior anymore. Why are you here? I asked. She hesitated. Because I need you. I raised an eyebrow. Need? Or miss the life you threw away? Tears welled in her eyes. I miss you. Maddie. Us. That word, us, felt like a bad joke. You didn't lose me, Sophie, I said quietly. You traded me. She blinked, confused. I leaned a little closer. You made a deal, I continued. You weighed the options. A quiet, loyal husband, or a man with flash and connections who could give you a shortcut to a different life. You chose. I didn't know who he really was, she whispered. Neither did I replied. But you knew who I was. And that didn't stop you. Her hands trembled. Can't we just rewind? I shook my head. There's no rewind, Sophie. Only consequences. She dropped her gaze, tears dripping onto her collar. I don't even have a place to go, she said. You had a home, I said. You just didn't want it. For a moment, I thought she'd scream, collapse, beg. Instead, she just nodded. Slowly. Defeated. I'm sorry, she said. For all of it. I took a breath. Let it hang in the air. You'll figure it out, I said. But it won't be with me. And I closed the door. Behind it, Maddie sat at the kitchen table drawing. She didn't ask who was at the door. She didn't need to. Some goodbyes don't need to be said out loud. They echoed long after the silence. We settled into a rhythm. Just me and Maddie. Morning cartoons. Peanut butter waffles. The occasional tantrum over brushing hair. And silence, the kind that doesn't weigh on you, but wraps around you like a familiar old jacket. We moved to a smaller place across the city. Nothing fancy. Just ours. I picked up work in private cybersecurity. No more red tape, no more field reports. Just quiet contracts, clean hours, and a paycheck that didn't come with explosions. Maddie had her own room, a little pink desk by the window, and a shelf of books she insisted on organizing by happiness level. Whatever that meant. The house felt warm. Real. Sometimes I'd catch myself staring at her while she played, wondering how close I came to losing all this. Wondering what might have happened if I'd done nothing. If I'd stayed quiet, played the fool. But that wasn't me. Not anymore. I didn't gloat. Didn't dig through the aftermath of Sophie's collapse. Didn't need to. She made her move. I made mine. She chose someone who promised fireworks and gave her fire damage. I chose Maddie. And peace. There were moments, of course, late at night, when the city went still and I sat by the window with a glass in hand. I'd think about how it all fell apart. The betrayal. The arrogance. The part where they thought I'd just take it. They didn't know who I was. Hell, for a while, I didn't either. But now? Now I do. I'm the man who rebuilt his life, one quiet step at a time. Who didn't let anger eat him alive. Who found purpose not in revenge, but in presence. Maddie's school called last week. She wrote an essay about her hero. It was me. I didn't cry. Not really. Just blinked a little slower. You know what the funny thing is? Sophie always said I was too calm. That I lack passion. Turns out, calm is what saved us. And passion? Well, sometimes it looks like setting fire to your own future just because you thought the flames made you glow. Me? I kept my matches in my pocket and walked away whole.